What's up, everybody? You tuned in to Rightfully Structured. I want to touch on the subject of bad advice. I was just thinking, sitting back thinking not too long ago. I recall a situation in the past, and I reached out to somebody that I considered close to me. So I was like, I value their opinion. So I told them about a situation that I was going through, and it was kind of like a vent. Just want to be able, because I knew I could trust them to a degree, and it wasn't nothing too technical, like too personal. But it's basically like, yeah, I'm dealing with this person, and they did this and that. They keep it. It's like the second time they doing this little weird habits or whatever, repeating these little weird habits. So, not saying that the person doesn't care or value how I feel about things, but that doesn't mean that they're always going to have the right advice for you. Doesn't matter who they are. So this person that I spoke with, their reply to what I said was basically, F it, you should just do you. And I listened to what they had to say, but my mind is like going a little back and forth, like, because me, first of all, I have my own brain. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a little disappointing to hear what this person had to say. But I had to make sure that I establish how I should do it and how anyone else should carry on about it. So basically, I received the advice to just, I shouldn't even care. I should just basically like have somebody on the side type of thing. Now, me in my mind, once they were done speaking, I had to say what I had to say. I said, nah, I don't think that's gonna solve anything. And it was like a kind of back and forth. I was like, but at the end of the day, if I'm gonna do all of that, I might as well be single. I might as well just call it quits and be single if I'm gonna do all that. And they took a like a long pause and was like, well, you're right. But it brought me to the point that you really have to be careful on the advice that you accept from people. Because people can have good intentions. They're thinking about you in the situation, but they're not thinking about the situation. That's the problem. If there's a situation, you can't solve it from one point of view. It's good to take advice, But this is the thing. And when I gave people advice that come to me, I try to look at it from all standpoints because the people that I deal with, I already know what type of people they are first and foremost, and they know that if they come to me, they gotta be prepared to hear something because I'm not gonna hold back. I'm gonna be honest with them. Well, you messed up. I'm gonna tell you if that's the case, that's what it is. Tough love, but just know that I truly love you for telling you the truth. I don't want anybody around me that's gonna tell me what I want to hear because that's not real. You're not gonna make it through life just being around people telling you what you want to hear because when that mask get ripped off, it's like, okay, now you don't even know who you are or what you done really done because people didn't lie to you. And that made me think about that situation. I love them to death, man, but it's it just make you really think like, okay, you really have to have your own mind. You can't really depend on other people too much. You have to be able to deal with your issues within your household or whatever the case may be. You can't just go to people. But that was just a great example because it was somebody that I really look forward to hearing their advice. Even though what they say doesn't mean it's final, I just look forward to hearing what they had to say on the situation. Because it was just one of those times. But really, it was up to me in the end to make that decision. I didn't allow him to make that decision for me because I know that at the end of the day, that's my life. He's not living my life. I make a decision based off of what he's saying. The truth, behold, he's not going to care about the things that he's not going to care the same way that I care about my life because he's not living my life. Even though you might have he can have an idea of what I experience and he care about me, but to be 100% clear of it, no. You have to be careful where you get your advice from, though. That's just real. Doesn't matter who it is. It can be your parent. Just because your parent doesn't mean that they're gonna give you good advice. They're just older. That doesn't mean that their mind is mature, and especially if there's situations they're not living by real morals and respect, then how could you get good advice from them? Now, not saying that you can't get anything out of somebody like that, but when it comes to a relationship, no, especially if they're single. You have to be careful because 9 times out of 10, it could be based off of what they've been through. You don't know why they're giving the advice that they are giving. It could have triggered something inside of them, made them think about something they went through, and then now they're giving you their opinion off of what they've been through, not from your standpoint, not from your situation of how they care about you and the person that you're with. Because if they really care, they're going to consider both sides. How does something supposed to work if it's just a blame game? It's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about correcting situations so you can move forward. That's a lesson learned for the both. not just an individual if you're working together. I have plenty of examples that I can give, but it really made me appreciate the time that I invest in myself to better determine my decisions. I really appreciate the time that I took because that made me basically I don't have to depend on people. Now, even though I was I was upset and I chose to speak to somebody that I really consider their opinion, I didn't need to. I didn't need to. But it was a good reason why that happened because it made things clear for me. I really seen how listening to other people could affect your opinion of your situation. Now, if I was a weak minded person, I would have been easily manipulated into something, not really necessarily manipulated, but I would have been basically like convinced off of their opinion, not fully knowing why they said what they said, and not without them fully knowing the full situation. I'm not gonna lie. Anybody I care about, I don't sit around just convince them to break up with people that, you know, that they with, married to, whatever, girlfriend. I don't convince them because 9 times out of 10 I know them. So when I think about what they're telling me, I'm not thinking from just their standpoint. I'm thinking from both. So I have to be considerate of what I say to them. They could just be upset. So how they venting, it might come off rough, but at the end of the day, when they calm down, they're gonna take their ass home. So you don't want to plant the wrong seeds, especially if you really care about somebody. And for the ones that actually invest their time into doing so, like putting negativity out there because of their life and being unhappy, I feel sorry for you. And hopefully you find peace within yourself because I tell you, when you try to give people bad advice, especially when you know better, you know the situation, it's different when it's innocent and you just all over the place, you just innocent with it though. You really care. But when you deliberately give the wrong information just to see somebody or anybody unhappy, that's something you're gonna have to deal with. Now, what form of karma that's gonna come back, I can't even say. That's on the creator. But you don't interfere with stuff like that. If you can't give any good advice, it's just best to just leave yourself out of a situation because you don't want to put yourself in a predicament that you creating karma for yourself. Now you find yourself not being happy, or you can't get do this, do that because you done something wrong to somebody else. Sometimes it's not good to speak on. Not sometimes, all the time. It's not good to speak on what you don't know. I've seen it. I've seen people in bad relationships trying to give somebody else advice. I recall a situation like years ago when I used to actually hang out a lot, and somebody was giving some bad advice, and I had to intervene in it. I had to like, cause it didn't feel right. Like why is he telling him like that? It sounded more personal. Like he just basically wanted to sound like he knew what he was talking about, but he was going to send him on a dummy mission. When he got done, and I spoke to the other guy, and he appreciated what I had to say because I gave him a different point of view, something that he didn't even see. He was seeing things out of anger, and that's usually what it is. That's okay. But emotions are temporary. You don't stay stuck in one emotion all the time. So being able to control your emotions is a key. Being able to control your emotions will work wonders. Because outside of emotion, you're going to see things clear. And when you see it clear, it doesn't really require no emotion. And even if you do, you don't have to acknowledge it. Let your body experience it and let it go. It's just an emotion. You can easily go back and forth through thousands of emotions through a day, but we always don't have to acknowledge it. It's just an emotion. Staying true to the fact or whatever the case may be is the fact. That's the key. Yeah, just be careful with the giving or accepting advice. Like I said, somebody can really care about you. You know what I'm saying? It don't have to be a hatred type of thing, but you don't know that person's wounds or what they've been through, all the hidden stuff that's going to create their response to what you ask. Now, it might strike you like, oh, dang, I wonder why they said that. You might not even ask. And if you do, they probably won't even explain it like that because it's probably deeper than what you can imagine. If it ain't, it's just hate. A lot of times it's just personal stuff. You give advice based off of, especially people that give negative advice, it's usually based off of their personal experiences. I remember growing up around somebody and I knew I had to cut them off because this person always said, if that was me, well, if that was me, if that was me, everything is if that was me. Instantly, eventually, I caught on. I like, this person is a liar. They're trying to build an impression of themselves by inserting that in your brain if that was them, but really, you don't have to explain that. If it ain't your situation, there's no need to even speak on it. When you're in a group setting and every time somebody's talking about something and then they always saying if that was me, no, you're searching for attention. And usually those are the ones that give like really bad advice over time, that get worse over time. Somebody that just like to be in the spotlight. Don't really make them a bad person, but it could be something that they're blocking to move forward. But I knew I had to move forward. If you find a time, you got younger kids, speak on that also. Like, it's good to work on, especially because these young kids, man, they go to school, they learning stuff on a level that we wouldn't even imagine because, a lot of these kids are way more advanced. So you're not thinking, all right, my kid's going to school around somebody like that. But you gotta like plant them seeds in your kid's head to be aware of certain things. Got to. Gotta get them hip early on every aspect. The more they know, the better they grow. Thank y'all for tuning in. Till next time, like, share, subscribe. Catch you later.